Now I'm starting to feel bad for Jaden Rashada. A couple of years ago, he was listed as a 5-star quarterback in the class of 2023 and was wanted by every program in college football. It seemed that he was doing his due diligence as he ended up taking advantage of NIL and was seemingly going to get a big paycheck from Miami. That ended up falling through, and then a paycheck at Florida ended up falling through as well. All of a sudden, he had gone through 2 different schools and people were dogging on him. Then he decided to go where his father played in Arizona State, and while he probably could have been the guy there for a couple of seasons, he ended up getting hurt and eventually replaced by Sam Leavitt. Rashada would then transfer over to Georgia to be a backup and a potential plug-and-play starter in 2025, but the chances always look bleak, and yesterday we found out he entered the portal. Rashada will now be looking for his 5th different school to commit to in just under 3 years, and this story at this point is getting somewhat tragic and also a little bit concerning. In today's video, I want to talk about this whole Jaden Rashada situation, go through the timeline of all these different schools, and what I think is going to happen to him next. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you can support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about Jaden Rashada. In my eyes, Jaden Rashada is one of the weirdest transfer quarterbacks in the portal, but we first need to go back in time and see who this guy is. Pretty much from early on, Jaden Rashada was seen as a pretty big deal, as he always loved the quarterback position and was an excellent athlete. Unfortunately, he is one of those players that played at multiple high schools, as he first started out at Liberty High School, before he would eventually spend time at both IMG and Pittsburgh. Scouts absolutely loved what Rashada brought to the table, and he started to become a big-time recruit with a ton of big-time offers. As a first-year starter in 2021, Rashada would burst onto the recruiting scene as he threw for 3,055 yards with 32 touchdowns. He also ran for over 400 yards and 7 scores on the ground, and because of that, he had now burst onto the national recruiting radar. At the time, he was working with former Vanderbilt quarterback Austin Carter-Samuels, and those two would start to pair up during his sophomore year of high school. Obviously, Carter-Samuels played quarterback for Vanderbilt back in the day and was also part of the Missouri coaching staff at one point. The two would end up working together, and this would get the most out of Jaden. At the time, his recruitment was full of complete controversy. The first school he decided to commit to was Florida. This was a huge get for Billy Napier, who was looking to replace Anthony Richardson, and Rashada looked like he was going to be the future of the program. Everyone was super excited, and at the time, he was considered a 5-star recruit. Unfortunately though, I guess the coaching staff and the culture wasn't enough, as it was mostly NIL based. He would eventually ask for a release from all that, and then a few weeks later committed to Miami. He claimed he was loyal to the Gators, and then ended up going to a rival a few weeks later. It was kind of messed up if you ask me, but then Miami got burnt. They apparently agreed to an NIL deal worth $13 million, and they were not able to put pen to paper either. The money fell apart, and Rashada would ask for a release as well. It was eventually granted, and now he would have to find another school. His high school coach said, quote, "Rashada is probably a poster child for kids that were promised a lot and people didn't deliver and now they're stuck. How do you separate the deals that are real and the ones that aren't?" Well, maybe he is the poster child for that, but I'd say most of the mainstream football world did not view Jaden as a guy who was getting screwed. They viewed him as a completely spoiled player who was just bouncing from paycheck to paycheck, as $9 million wasn't enough at Florida, and then $13 million wasn't enough at Miami, and then he left. It seemed on paper at least that it was all about the money, but there was always more going on behind the scenes, and big-time quarterback recruits are navigating the Wild West right now, as no one really knows what's going on or how to handle all this. No one knows what they're worth, and what is too much or too little to ask for. Eventually he would decide to sign with Arizona State, and it made sense for 2 reasons. 1, they had an opening at the quarterback position, and 2, his dad played defensive back there from 1992 to 1994. Carter-Samuels said, quote, "The decision was then for him to go back to his roots where his dad played at Arizona State. It was loyalty going back to a place familiar to the family, continuing the legacy of his father, and doing something for his dad's school." That was Arizona State. What to me is unfortunate about all this is that it sounds great on paper, but now that we flash forward a year, he already left. At the time, he was ranked as the number 6 pro-style quarterback and the 44th best player in the class of 2023. He'd arrive with a lot of potential and would eventually win the starting job over Trenton Bourguet and former Notre Dame transfer Drew Pine. Coach Dillingham said, quote, "Rashada's getting better every day, and he's making throws that are top-notch NFL throws that our team sees, and it's exciting to see." He ended up being named that starting quarterback, and his season was extremely limited due to injuries. He appeared in just 3 games, which in total he threw for 485 yards with 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He played in their first 2 games of the season, and then also played in their season finale against Arizona. He ended up going 10 of 22 for 82 yards with a touchdown and 2 picks, and a loss to a ranked Arizona team. Rashada, I guess, had a couple moments of flash, but really he was very underwhelming, and you could tell he was not ready for the moment, or maybe not as good as advertised. After the season was over, it's like Rashada was 100% going to be the starter in 2024, and then probably play in 2025 and hope to be an NFL prospect. Unfortunately, he decided to cut his ASU time short, and I guess he was no longer building a legacy at ASU. He decided to enter the transfer portal, and Arizona State head coach Kenny Dillingham said he had no hard feelings. He said, quote, "Someone will be getting an elite talent and a great person. We will always be rooting for you." Apparently, behind the scenes, Michigan State transfer Sam Leavitt was making a lot of progress, and some were even saying on Reddit and in the various forums I read that Leavitt was actually probably going to win the starting job. I don't know how true that is, or maybe that's just coach talk, but either way, Rashada wanted a fresh start. He decided to enter the transfer portal, and this was one of the biggest portal news pieces we had seen in quite some time. After a couple of visits, he decided to sign with Georgia. Yeah, I was as shocked as you were. When I read that statement, I honestly did not believe it. Honestly, they don't really get many transfers out of the portal, for being honest here. But this one didn't make a whole lot of sense. Well, yes, Jaden was ranked highly coming out of high school, but he had the kind of tendencies that I think Kirby Smart would typically like to avoid, and he didn't exactly do a whole lot at ASU in his first couple of games. To me, this is both an insurance policy and a long-term project. Recently, Kirby Smart came out and said that he wanted 4 quarterbacks in the room, and currently, they only had 3. They had their returning starter Carson Beck, their big-time former 5-star Gunnar Stockton, and then true freshman Ryan Puglisi. I really hope I said that right. It did not end up mattering though, as Puglisi was not going to see the field, and neither did Rashada. Carson Beck ended up being the starter once again, and while he was up and down throughout the year, he still was a pretty solid quarterback. He ended up getting hurt in the SEC championship game, and all of a sudden, they turned to Gunnar Stockton, not Jaden Rashada. I mean, this is what we all expected. We all knew that Gunnar was going to get on the field instead of Jaden, and Gunnar ended up helping them win the SEC championship game, but would not be able to lead them to a win in the college football playoff. For the season, Rashada never ended up stepping on the field. I guess technically he was probably the 3rd string quarterback as Puglisi was hurt, and it's unfortunate that he never got an opportunity there. But again, I say to myself, why the heck did he go there to begin with? Kirby Smart is extremely loyal to the players that he recruits out of high school, and Gunnar Stockton is in the same mold as Carson Beck and Stetson Bennett. Pretty much no matter what, Stockton was going to be the guy in 2025, and he's already got guys like Ryan Puglisi and Ryan Montgomery headed there after that. Rashada obviously didn't show enough to get on the field this year, and honestly, I think Kirby took him as an insurance policy. He took him because he had a lot of potential, because he was a high-end recruit, and he needed to find that 4th quarterback. If Stockton got hurt, Rashada would have played, but I don't think he was ever really part of the plan. Rashada may have sensed that, and has decided to enter the portal once again. I have absolutely no idea where he's going to go. If I was a coach, I'd have no idea how to evaluate him. Yes, he put up insane numbers in high school and has all the measurables you want in a college quarterback, but at the same time, he's not been able to stay put, he's not been able to commit anywhere, and he's also barely played over the last 2 years because of that injury and sitting on the bench this past season. Ultimately though, because Rashada was a top 50 recruit coming out of high school, he will get another opportunity. Guys who are ranked that highly always get another chance, and I definitely think he'll end up at a group of 5 school. I have absolutely no idea where, but in the coming weeks we should be able to find out more information. Still though, this is unfortunate. In the thumbnail, I talked about how this is concerning, and to me it is. I'm a little bit concerned that we're never going to get to see Rashada live up to the hype, or even get an opportunity to play at the highest level of college football. In retrospect, he should have gone to Arizona State right from the get-go, as it seems that Dillingham and the Sun Devils are building something special there, and I think a huge what if is if he wouldn't have gotten hurt. Again though, you cannot change the past, and he just got unlucky. We'll see what he does from here, but hopefully Rashada finds his next school, sticks with it, and becomes the star player we all thought he could be coming out of high school. But what do you guys think? If you're a big fan of Georgia, Arizona State, or just Rashada in general, let me know where you think he's going to go next, and let me know another current event video I should cover next. The most intriguing video idea will get covered next week, so be sure to drop that down below, check out my current events playlist, and all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.